Hey everyone, and welcome back to Nerd Talk, the weekly podcast show where we take a deep dive into all things nerdy of the week, including movies, comics, anime, manga, games, etc., etc. But before we get into the topics of this week, I want to apologize for the month-long hiatus we've had. Things here have been wild, and we'll be talking about that all later on. To start today, we have a couple things we are going to talk about. The first thing being, where is Gavin? Well, don't worry, Gav will be back. He's just currently on vacation until June 1st, but he will return. Secondly, and most excitingly, I'm excited to announce our first guest here on Nerd Talk. He's an up-and-coming writer, actor, producer known for entertainment shows such as True Detective, the short film titled The Stark Reality, and you can see him becoming friendly neighborhood Spider-Man this year in Spider-Man Lotus. Please welcome Warden Wayne to the show. Warden, thank you so much for being here.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
Real quick, just to start, how did you ended up getting the role of Spider-Man?
See, a lot of people. There's a lot of misconceptions about this, and that's why it's really funny. I've actually known Gavin for a number of years. I think I met him in 2017, and it's funny. I think I posted a monologue on my Instagram a long time ago. I think I was 16 or 17, and he saw it, and we didn't know each other at that point. But he called me, he's like, "Man, like, hey, it's a good monologue, dude, and like we should work together someday." I was like, "Yeah, for sure, dude."
Mm,
You kind of just shrug it off because you don't know this guy.
right.
And then, throughout the years, I think we started talking more and we became buddies and became closer and eventually became best friends. And then around 2 years ago, we kind of started, or he started kind of talking about this idea to make this Spider-Man film. And originally, it wasn't as ambitious as it is now. The plan was originally to make it a short film. It was originally just going to be the kid who collects Spider-Man. That's what it was going to be called, just the kid who collects Spider-Man, and it was going to be a 15-minute short film. Um, and then things changed, and we had more ideas. But yeah, I guess Gavin always had me in mind. He casted Sean first, the actor who plays Harry,
Yeah.
and he talked to Sean first. He's like, "Should I talk to Warden about this? Do you think he would do this?" And
Mm,
then he ended up talking to me about it. And um, I wasn't as invested as I am now. Like when I first heard about it, it was kind of like just this thing I was doing for Gavin because he was my friend. And then, I wasn't doing any producer work. I wasn't doing any writing. It was all Gavin, and he was handling everything on his own. And then I guess I slowly started picking up a little bit of the slack to help him out. And then started having more ideas for the writing process. But that was a really long answer to one question. But yeah, so there wasn't really an audition process for Peter or Harry.
right.
Only for all the other characters though there were.
Yeah, no, that was another thing that I was gonna ask you about merely was like, what was the process like for you? Did you have more to say in terms of being just like an actor, or did you actually have some input into the story and stuff?
Definitely. I mean, I think I was. I mean, I don't want to like misquote Gavin. Might be like, no, he didn't say that. But I think I remember kind of like talking to Gavin. I was like, dude, what if we included more elements of Blue? Because, like I said, so it was originally a short film,
Mm,
and it was always going to take place after Gwen's death. We had that because we wanted to have that like little bit of arc,
right.
and it was going to take place after Gwen's death, and then we would have the kid who collects Spider-Man story. But then I was like, dude, what if we started incorporating a little bit more of Blue? Um, what if we added these characters? And then it sort of just kept on growing and growing. And I've definitely been Gavin's wrote Gavin wrote the script,
Mm,
but we've had multiple calls. We call all the time, and I've helped him write certain scenes. For the most part, I would say I polish stuff, and then I'll like go over it. And he'll do the same thing with Sean and a few other people. But for the most part, it was Gavin. Gavin probably wrote 95% of it, and then Sean and I incorporate some ideas at the most. Um, but yeah, I mean, Gavin and I have a lot of respect for each other, so we like respect each other's ideas and opinions on certain things. So we've just been like flat out like, no, that's not a good idea for each other's ideas at certain times. But yeah,
right. Yeah, no, I like that thought process that goes into that, especially when it comes to the death of Gwen, like arc and everything like that, because that is such a pivotal moment in Spider-Man lore. Like, it kind of I don't want to say it changes who Peter Parker is because it doesn't change who he is as a person, but it definitely alters his perspective in a whole new way. Um,
yeah,
and so that's really interesting to know about that. Like, this story is going to be taking place after that pivotal moment in his life.
exactly.
Um,
And it's cool because we haven't really we haven't really seen that before. I mean, at the end of the Amazing Spider-Man 2, we saw like a tiny bit of how he was dealing with Gwen's death,
Right.
but we've never seen I think an in-depth look of Gwen's death, at least in any media, as far as I know,
Yeah,
outside of the comics.
we've never gotten a. I think the animated one of the animated shows may have done something, but
Okay, yeah,
in terms of like a full scale what happened after the night Gwen Stacy died, that's never been put to screen. So that's gonna be
yeah, so
really
it's
interesting to see.
pretty exciting.
Um, real quick, I wanted to also mention my girlfriend is filling in for Gavin today. Everybody, so my girlfriend Bree is here, and she will be asking some questions to Warden, just filling in everything like that. So baby, do you have any questions you want to ask Warden?
Uh, sorry, going off guard. Um, yeah, I mean, when were you like approached as the role of Spider-Man like for the first time? Like, what did you think about it?
Um, I don't know. I think it was. I don't know. I don't remember the exact date. So I mean, Gavin and I are buds. We like talk pretty regularly. Um, and it was. I want to say probably 2 years ago. I don't know exactly when. Like, he always kind of joked about it. People have said I look like Spider-Man before, so it's always kind of been like a thing to toss around. And people have like fan casted me as that before. I guess not a whole lot of people. Just a few of my friends and that kind of thing. But obviously, Gavin and I both love Spider-Man. So when I guess he approached me about it, and I don't even really remember the exact conversation, because again, it was never this like big thing. It was kind of like just this thing we were gonna film. We were originally gonna film it in September of 20, I want to say 2019, 2020, one of those Septembers. I forget which, and because it was just so short. And a 15-minute short you can get done in like a week if you're efficient. So it was never like this like grand thing that we were gonna do. We weren't gonna have a bigger crew. We weren't gonna have many cast members. Originally, we had Ned Leeds, and the kid who collects Spider-Man, Tim, and then myself, and that was the cast. That was it. And then things got reworked and stuff. But my reaction, I mean, I was nervous even before I was announced, like leading up to the announcement. I think in January, I was super nervous. I was getting ready for a lot of hate, all that kind of stuff.
Mm.
And thankfully, there actually wasn't as much as I'd expected. And when I was announced, I was kind of like, it's like you turn your phone off because you're afraid to see what everyone thinks. But I became more and more excited as it got closer. But the first time when he told me, it was kind of I was just gonna do it as a favor to him because he was my friend.
Mm. That was something that like I was always keen of because I've been following GK Central or Gavin for I want to say 4 or 5 months now,
Okay.
and I followed you on Instagram also around the time he announced your casting,
Okay.
because the first thing I can vividly detail this. The first thing that was in my head when the picture of you was showing up and it was next to the classic Peter Parker image was the PS4 Spider-Man, the older, like
Hmm.
more, I guess, more confident Spider-Man. And I like
Yeah.
that version of Spider-Man a lot better than the teenage version. If you do the teenage version,
Hmm.
it has to be done like to a T in a lot of people's eyes,
Yeah.
including myself.
Yeah.
So when it comes to the more adult version, the more, you know, confident, more he knows what he's doing kind of thing, I was definitely like, okay, this guy, I don't know his acting ability, but I'm gonna definitely look him up because he looks the part and it's exactly what
Thanks,
I was
man.
looking for. And then I was just another fan waiting for the suit reveal. I was so waiting for that because I knew, that this is gonna be leading into the next question. Was like, the suit was so accurate and it was so perfectly stylized in my opinion. It looks so
Thank
great.
you.
I'm gonna put a picture up on screen right now for everybody who hasn't seen it, but it was so perfectly done in my opinion. And the next question that I was going into was like, what kind of physical changes did you go through? I know because that's actually how me and you really met and started talking was,
Yeah.
through workouts and everything like that, and talking about, what you did to get into shape. What physical like changes did you do to get closer to your take on Spider-Man?
So we always we wanted to have, like you said, like a more mature Spider-Man, and I guess a staple of that, at least a staple of some adulthood is to have a bulkier look. It's kind of like why Batman's always kind of bulky.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, I try to work out regularly. I worked out way more over the past 3 months than I have ever before in terms of like consistency and actually maintaining a regimen. But I think I think I got the suit for the first time. Like the suit came in, I tried it on for the first time in September, and I'd been bulking up, so I think I got up to 170 pounds, which is a lot for me. I'm 5'10", so I'm not like super tall or anything, and I wasn't really that in it in terms of like getting the weight and the size down. I was kind of just working out, kind of just eating whatever I wanted. Because with bulking, you kind of have that freedom. You know, you don't have as much because bulking you just eat a bunch of food and you're trying to like gain weight.
Yeah.
And then I didn't really like how I looked in the suit, and you know, it kind of made me depressed for a little while. I don't think no one outside of production has actually seen what I looked like in the suit in September. I mean, I was beefier. Gavin thought I was too big. He said you look way too big. And about probably the end of March or the middle of March, my older brothers are into fitness and they started doing this diet, and they kind of helped me motivate to do it. And I was never going to do it. You know, I was never going to do a diet because it's hard, and I wasn't super motivated. And then I kind of just decided to do it, and I was going to test it out. I was like, let's just see how this goes. And I didn't do a super complicated one. I think I talked to you about this a little bit in our DMs, but I just did a low calorie, high protein diet. Yep. Which I've explained it to you, but for anyone listening, this means you go into a calorie deficit. So, you know, my maintenance was the calories that I needed to maintain my current weight was like 2,700, and I dropped down to 2,400. Yeah. It's a very scientific thing because, I guess the way it works, you know, if you don't, you know, one day you'll have 6,000 calories, the other day you'll have like 1,000 or something, you know, and that's like, I guess that's your really confuses your metabolism, and that's why oftentimes you don't see results. Mm-hmm. And then I went to the gym. I go to the gym for I actually just got back from the gym before this call. I go to the gym for about 3 hours every day. That's what I try to do. Nice. Yeah, and that's pretty much it. I didn't have a trainer because we couldn't afford a trainer. I wasn't within the budget. So I kind of just did my own thing. But yeah, like, you know, just 3 hours every day, and then I've been dieting for the past 2.5 months. So.
Yeah, no, that's, you know, like what you were saying in the Instagram DMs, like, you know, for anybody who, you know, is unaware of what I'm doing, me and my friend Gavin, who's also on the podcast, he's the co-star of the podcast, we are, you know, for the last, I want to say 7 months, have been putting together a series that we're going to be filming next year. It's Batman the series. It's a series that we're going to be doing. And, you know, Gavin came to me with this idea, you know, like I said, about January of this year, and was like, hey, I have this idea for a series we could do. It could be the first thing we do with, you know, because we've decided that we want to do films together and everything like that. Mm-hmm. And he was like, the only catch is I only want you to play Batman. And I was like, okay, well, that's gonna be tricky for me because I'm a bit of a bigger guy. I'm overweight a little bit, and, you know, I was like, give me a time schedule, like, give me a timeline of, like, when we would film this thing. And he was like, well, we need to write a script, obviously, some screenplays of the episodes, and, you know, get some castings done. And I was like, so you thinking maybe next year we get this thing filmed? And he was like, definitely. And I was like, okay, I can do that. And so that's what I've been currently doing. I've been, you know, just on the grind. I've lost 7 pounds so far since my start.
That's awesome, dude. And
so I've been crazy, just, you know, going pretty much to the gym every single day. I didn't go to the last 2 days because I've been busy like all hell. But, yeah. You know, I've definitely been, like, working towards, like, that goal. So, you know, I've definitely been doing your diet, the, you know, high protein, low calorie, and it's been working. Yeah, man. So
that's awesome, dude. Dude, I mean, 7 pounds that fast is, like, that's pretty bizarre.
Yeah.
Like, that's really good. So,
yeah,
kudos to you.
I went down from, because I'll share my weight. I don't care. I'm an open book. So I was 290 when I started this, and I'm now down to 283.
Nice, dude.
Yeah, I was at 287 like 4 or 5 days ago, because most of it's just cardio. I'm just running like crazy every single day, or I do a mile walk with my girlfriend on the phone.
Yeah, dude.
Like, it's constantly that process. And so for
Yeah,
me,
and that combined, I mean, the cardio combined with the calorie deficit, it'll hit your body like crazy, and you'll lose so much weight.
yeah, and that's exactly what I'm doing. So, I gotta thank Warden for that, because I would not have known about that whole idea until he brought it to my attention.
Yeah,
Baby,
man,
do you
of
have a
course.
question you want to ask him? Hello, babe. I think she's busy right now. We can just move on to the next one.
That's fine.
Okay, let's see. Oh yeah, here's a question I wanted to actually ask you about. What, since you are going to be playing Spider-Man, what is in your opinion, your top three, like, favorite Spider-Man movies? Or,
Oh, movies or like
yeah,
interpretations or something.
yeah.
Uh, um,
Like, what,
I mean,
who or what is your favorite interpretation of the character?
Spider-Man 2 is my favorite Spider-Man movie. Um,
Okay.
Well, that's like, that's probably expected with
Yeah,
Gavin, like me
that's.
being friends with Gavin. Yeah.
Yep.
Spider-Man 2 is my favorite, and it was one of the reasons that I got into acting when I was a kid. When I was 5. I plan to talk about this at some point on Instagram, but when I was 5, I was in my grandma's living room and I just finished watching Spider-Man 2.
Right.
And this was like, like a year after I guess it came out in theaters. But I told myself, I was like, if I can't be Spider-Man in real life, because obviously I couldn't do that, then I want to be Spider-Man in the movie. And it's not the sole reason I act or anything, but it is cool to see that like that's
It's a
something
dream.
that
It's a dream.
yeah, exactly. And so Spider-Man 2, and then I really really like Spectacular Spider-Man with Josh Keaton. Josh Keaton is my favorite voice of Spider-Man.
Nice, yeah. My personal favorite voice, it used to be Josh Keaton because of the Spectacular Spider-Man show, but
Mm-hmm.
after Spider-Man PS4, Yuri Lowenthal took
Yuri,
my
dude, yeah,
heart.
Yuri's really good too. I
He
love him.
was astounding in my opinion as Spider-Man in that, in those games.
Yeah.
Um, my favorite Spider-Man movie is actually, The Amazing Spider-Man, the first one with Andrew
Okay.
Garfield.
Yeah.
I don't know why it is. I love the film because I look at it. Yeah, because I look at it from a superhero perspective. Because I'm a comics nerd. If you could see my office right now, I stream on Twitch, and my office is just covered with comics and everything like that.
Cool.
But
It's excessive.
it's very excessive. But like for me, my favorite rendition of the character was Andrew Garfield's because, yeah, everyone says he was too good looking for the role. It's just like you can't control what someone looks like.
Yeah.
In my opinion, he was just as much as a shy, dorky teenager. He was literally me in high school. Like, that's how I
Yeah.
looked at
Yeah.
it. I did exactly what he did in high school. I was quiet. I just answered my work. I just did my work. When someone needed
Yeah.
me, I
Yeah.
answered. Like, that was pretty much it. That's how I was.
I'm sorry, but
What'd you say, honey? You cut out.
I knew you in high school. You were not quiet.
Oh my God, whatever. Yes, I had friends.
Let me be the
I
first to tell.
I was not the
Sorry.
popular kid. I can safely say that. She's trying to say that I wasn't quiet and shy and everything like that. I wasn't a popular kid, but I did have a good amount of friends.
For sure.
And so, when it came to Andrew Garfield's interpretation, I was like, okay, I can definitely see like a Peter Parker in him. I can see a Spider-Man in him. And then when he finally did become Spider-Man, I was very happy. I was also happy because it was just comic book accurate. I was never a big fan of the organic web shooters from Sam Raimi's trilogy. I got it.
Me either.
I was understandable, but I really wish they went with the early concepts that they did, which in the early concepts of Sam Raimi's Spider-Man movies, he did have web shooters, but they ended up taking that out. And I was just really happy to see Andrew Garfield's interpretation come back with the web shooters because it brings back a lot more, I don't want to say danger, but a lot more difficulty when it comes to the character because there can be instances where his web shooters malfunction or something happens to them.
I love when that happens because it does kind of like up the stakes in a tiny way where he doesn't have his webs anymore, and I love that kind of stuff.
And he has to rely on his wits and his his reflexes to keep going whatever he's doing. So like that process, that was another thing I wanted to ask you about. I don't know if you can release it like that info, but does your guys' Peter Parker have web shooters?
He does actually,
Okay.
yeah. So
Awesome.
actually, they've our suit team in Italy, Alessio, Lorenzo, and Mikel.
Mm.
They've just finished like making them.
Awesome.
So I don't know when Gavin wants to reveal them. We're talking about it soon. We might probably do like in the 1st of June, but I really like it. It's a modernization of like the classic silver uh web shooters that you might see in like Spectacular Spider-Man or the 90s series,
Right.
and I really like it. But it's like it's got a nice little twist on it. Our the 3D designer Lorenzo, he did a really 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 cool job.
Awesome. That's something I'm really excited to see then too. You know, another thing about like the character and everything like that I wanted to brush up on you about. You said earlier that as a kid you wanted to be Spider-Man, or at best case you wanted to be Spider-Man in the movies.
Yeah.
When and what caused you to realize that you wanted to be an actor and pursue this lifestyle?
Like like I said, I like to go back to when I was 5, but I think it was around when I was 12. When I was 5, that was kind of like the thing, but I didn't really know what like acting was. You know, I just knew that like people in movies got to be Spider-Man.
Right.
So I was just like, I want to be Spider-Man in a movie. You know, if I can't do this. And but around when I was 11 or 12, I started getting more into it. And where I'm from, Arkansas, it's not like, you know, it's not exactly like prime real estate for pursuing that career.
Right, I'm in Michigan,
And
so I feel that.
yeah, it's just like, you know, you can't really find anything. Like at the most, like maybe some plays, like some school plays and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And I was homeschooled, so I didn't have any sort of like,
Oh,
I didn't have those like,
that just that just hardens it.
yeah, exactly. So people are like, why did you ever do like school plays? And I never did. I got into one play when I was like 14, and then I ended up having to drop out because like my mom like made me drop out or whatever.
Oh.
Yeah, which sucked. But it was when I was about 12, I did this showcase thing where I acted in front of a bunch of agents. And I mean there are different bits and pieces of when I was growing up when like it really made me think, like the light bulb like really really lit up above my head, and I was like, geez, this is fun. There was one time that I did a monologue just by myself, you know, and I was just practicing and messing around, and it I think it was the first time. I can't really cry on cue. I've cried before for acting, but like crying on cue is weird to me. But when I did the monologue alone, it was the first time that I'd I think teared up without trying to tear up. And I was like, I wasn't like, I don't want to say impressed by myself, but I was like, this is really fun. I just teared up and got emotional without like, you know, thinking tear up, Warden, tear up. You have to tear up for the scene or whatever.
Right. Yeah, like,
so
see, like that was
then,
like that's always like the problem I face, because I can cry like a baby when it comes to like movies I'm watching or something like that.
Yeah.
Like I can sob my heart out. But when it comes like my girlfriend's an evil person, because she there was
I
one.
made him watch The Green Mile.
Yeah. The Green Mile.
I don't know if you've seen it. I made him watch The Green Mile. He had never seen it. I didn't tell him anything about it, you know, and so we're watching it, and it comes to the end, and I look over, and he's just like silently sobbing, like
I was
losing his mind. And he's like, "How are you
bawling.
not crying right now?" And I'm like, "I've seen the movie a million times. It's one of my favorite movies." And he is over here bawling like a
That's
baby.
funny.
And even his mom was like, "Wow, like I can't believe you're crying over The Green Mile right now."
Like it was the most friggin' annoying. But like I can do that. But when it comes to acting a scene out that I get misty-eyed. I don't tear up. I get misty-eyed. It's like my eyes water, but like they
Yeah.
don't cry, and it's really frustrating. So like,
It's just like, it's hard. The biggest thing that someone told me was that, you know, don't try to cry, because then like you won't cry, you know?
right.
I think a director in California, because I had a scene and I was stressing out and I was 18, and he was like, don't think about crying. Like, don't like stress out about crying, because then you'll be thinking about it too hard and you won't cry. So I think the biggest thing that's helped me with that kind of thing, because I've struggled with that too. And then that doesn't mean that doesn't mean you're a bad actor either. A lot of actors can't cry. A lot of actors have to use like there's a certain technique. I actually saw an actor do it in one of the X-Men movies. It's just where you don't blink. You straight up just don't blink, and the audience usually can't recognize it because they make you focus on something else. but you don't blink, so then your eyes get dry and you'll start tearing up.
Right.
The biggest thing for me is just if you don't feel it. I think Adam Driver talked about that too. He said, if you don't cry, you mess up a take, or you don't get the emotion right, you just do it again, and you do another take, and the emotion will come with time, which has happened before. I've done takes and I didn't feel it, and then the next take you feel more in the zone, or you feel more invested, or something like that, and then you will cry, or you will do the thing, and you'll feel that was like that was the good one, that was the golden take, or whatever.
Right.
So I wouldn't stress too much about it, man. As an actor.
Following up from that whole like subject of acting and everything like that, what is like another film genre that you would like to dive into in terms of, not just Spider-Man, but like also just in general, like what other types of films would you like to do?
I really like thrillers, like something like I don't like horror movies, but I like thrillers, like Prisoners, or Nocturnal Animals, things that make you kind of like uncomfortable but not like scared, if that makes sense.
Right.
Like I like I like suspenseful movies, but not movies that are just like a bunch of jump scares left and right. So definitely thrillers. I love thrillers. I love dramas. I mean, the 2 short films I've done were dramas, and that kind of stuff is fun because you get to mess around with it more. And I'm not a big actor or anything yet, but I think a lot of the reason you'll see bigger actors like Jake Gyllenhaal doing indie films, because generally you're allowed to breathe more. You have more breathing room.
Yeah, you have a lot more freedom.
A lot more freedom, because studios won't get involved with low budget movies because they don't have, you know what I mean? Like if you're making Avengers and it's $300 million to make, then they might step in. That's why you'll see like Warner Brothers, like they pretty often get involved with their directors and all that kind of stuff.
Ooh, don't get me on Warner Brothers.
Yeah. But with Joker though, they kind of let Todd Phillips do his thing because the budget was like 60 million or something like that, which is pretty low for a big movie. And then it made $1 billion. Yeah. So kind of like, so that's why, I mean, I love indie movies. I love movies that are like, dramas and thrillers and real stories. That's what Gavin and I want to do after we finish Spider-Man, make a couple shorts that are dramas.
Awesome. Definitely after, if you continue to listen to the podcast after you've already headed off, I will be definitely going into Warner Brothers and my feelings about that. Baby, do you have another question you want to ask?
Really quick. You is a Warner Brothers production, and you sure seem to love that show. Anyways.
Yes.
What do you have any specific actors that you would like to work with, like in the future that?
There are quite a few. I really like. I mean, I like Jake Gyllenhaal. I love to work with him. In terms of like big actors, he's probably the biggest one I like to work with. I really like Martin Freeman. I don't know why, but I love Martin Freeman. He has like this certain line that he delivers in, I think, the second Hobbit movie, and even I was 13, I was like, well, I love the way he delivers that line. So I really want to work with him. I love the way he acts. And I really like Michael Rosenbaum. He doesn't really act anymore, but he played Lex Luthor in Smallville. If I could ever work with him, I'd love to work with him, man. He's got such a presence, and he's one of my favorite actors. He's just so good. He does podcast stuff now. He doesn't really act much anymore.
Really? I did not know that.
Yeah, he has a podcast, and that's what he does. He just does a podcast. I don't think he like does very small roles here and there, but I haven't seen him like star in anything since Smallville.
Wow. I did not know
that. Yeah, I love him, dude. I love him so much. So yeah, definitely Jake Gyllenhaal, Martin Freeman, and Michael Rosenbaum. If I could choose 3.
Nice. Getting to the last question. I know you're running out a little bit of time, so I'm gonna get to one of the last.
It's okay,
questions.
Man. Don't worry about it. Don't sweat.
If there were any, so besides Spider-Man, obviously, because you're gonna be portraying him very soon, is there any other Marvel or DC character, or even Image Comics, any other, I guess, superhero-ish type characters that you would like to play? Who would those be?
Man, I mean, I love superheroes. I love all superheroes pretty much. If I was taller and if I looked like a little bit more handsome, or like more traditionally handsome, I'd want to play Superman because I love Superman. But I don't think I can ever do that. And also, if I was taller, I think I'd want to play Batman, which that's like Batman, Superman, and Spider-Man. Those are like the top three.
Well,
But
how tall are you? How tall are you?
I'm 5'10".
See, I think you
So,
could play Superman. At least,
see,
like, you could play
maybe if I had boots on, because Spider-Man, I know Spider-Man's 5'10", so that's kind of like makes me feel good. He's like in the comics, he's 5'10". But if I could choose, I felt like I might play Batman better than Spider-Man if I was like older, when I'm like 30,
Right.
because like I generally have a bulkier build. I'm like the cinematographer says I look more stoic than like young. People say I look young, or people say I look older than I am. I'm only 20, and people have thought I was way older. The first role I got when I was 18, the director thought I was 28.
Really?
I was like, what? Yeah.
Wow.
He was like, why, you're only 18? But yeah, I don't know. Maybe Batman, man. I'd like to play Batman or something. Or if I looked a little bit different, I'd love to play Robin. I've always wanted to play Damian, even though he's like everyone's least favorite
Really?
Robin. He's everyone's least favorite Robin.
I
But
mean,
I feel like in terms, go ahead.
I think he's a little prickish, but I do like the character of Damian Wayne.
Yeah, and I think that'd be fun to play because he's kind of prickish and he's kind of full of himself, and he's the son of Batman, so I think that'd be a fun thing to play. Obviously, I'm probably too old to play him, but yeah, maybe
Well, no,
Damian
not unless
Wayne.
they did
Maybe
like a future scenario.
that's
where
true.
he's
That's
older.
true. And I like playing like moody characters, like people who are like moody and roaming around being all pissed off all the time. And yeah, he is prickish, so it'd be fun to play.
Gotcha. Baby, do you have another question you want to ask?
I mean, I guess it's kind of the same as the last question because which one you would like to play, but which one is your favorite superhero? Like,
Oh man,
just in general.
I'm gonna make it a little
It's-
difficult for you outside of Spider-Man.
outside
outside of Spider-Man.
Superman is my favorite. I watched a couple years ago. I watched Smallville for the first time throughout all 10 seasons, and then I watched and that just like changed my perception. So Superman is outside of Spider-Man. Superman is my favorite. I love Superman so much. I used to not like him. It was always between Spider-Man and Batman, but I really like Superman nowadays.
Right. Yeah. I can safely, unfortunately, say you're probably gonna hang up this call and never talk to me again. I've never watched Smallville.
No,
I have never watched it.
it's
I knew who Tom Welling was. I knew who Mark was. I knew almost the entire cast of
Yeah.
Smallville. I just never got it. I never got into it because I guess I never thought the premise of who was Clark Kent before
Yeah.
Superman as interesting. And obviously, it probably is interesting. I might even give it a watch here soon. I just personally never really got into it. A couple years, actually, like a year or two ago, they CW did that Crisis on Infinite Earths,
yeah.
and Tom Welling reprised his role as Superman in that crossover.
Mhm.
He wasn't super powered. You didn't see him fly around with a cape or anything like that, but you saw him play as Clark Kent. And so I can safely say I've seen him play as Clark Kent, but I've never watched Smallville. What were you
It
gonna say?
has a lot of pros and cons. I would say it's like when it's bad, it's really bad. But when it's good, it's. I mean, there are like probably top 10 episodes that I would say. It struggles from having 10 seasons.
Right.
Because it has a lot of like filler episodes and things that don't really matter, and kind of these wonky arcs that Clark goes through, and just kind of like. It also suffers. At least the first few seasons suffers from the villain of the week, like trope that you see in a lot of CW shows, where it's like it's a new bad guy every week, and it's caused by kryptonite, and it's just the same thing over and over.
Right, yeah, no, like that was one of the things that, because like my personal favorite superhero TV show is Gotham. Gotham is.
I actually love Gotham. I love Gotham. A lot of people hate it, but I like it a lot.
I love the premise of Gotham a lot more than I liked the premise of Smallville. I like the new Superman and Lois show that's out, with Tyler Hoechlin as Superman. That's really good. I really love that show.
I adore that show, man.
But Gotham just holds such a special place in my heart. And apparently right now, actually, there's like a petition going on or something, or like a hashtag on Twitter. It's like Save Gotham. It has like 1 million retweets.
Oh, really?
It's going
I
crazy.
didn't even say apparently because you knew.
I knew
all
about it.
He
Yeah,
posted-
I did.
He said
I
apparently, like he barely
There's
knows.
something
He
I don't
posted
even.
it. He sent
Yeah,
it
like
to
I don't
people.
even know about it. It's just like I haven't.
I
signed
love
the
the show,
petition
yeah,
30
and I
30
love
times.
Ben McKenzie as Gordon so
Yes.
much.
Yes, I
So
even like
good.
David Mazouz as Bruce Wayne /
Me too.
Batman.
Me too.
I think the suit, like, and that was like another thing that I wanted to. I'm glad we touched up on Gotham was the suit at the end. All right, everybody hates on the Batman suit at the end.
Yeah.
It's just like you try going off of a TV budget and making a Batman suit that's not only supposed to be the first Batman suit that he has, but also one that is supposed to be functional and look iconic in this universe.
Yeah.
Which I think they nailed. I think they nailed the suit.
They
Obviously,
were
could
also
have done
super rushed. If I
yeah,
remember correctly, the
they were
costume team was
very
super
rushed.
rushed to make it because I think like it was like if I remember correctly, the end like development of the last season was kind of rushed, and that's why like you randomly jumped 10 years
Yeah,
to the last episode.
Fox promised, or Warner Brothers promised Fox 2 seasons more
Yeah.
of Gotham.
Yeah.
So we were supposed to get 7. And then right at the end, they jumped the gun and said, actually, we're cutting that down to 5. So you guys literally have this last season to wrap all these stories up, put them either into a neat little bow or leave them in a cliffhanger, whatever.
Yeah.
You have to do it, though. And for the most part, I think they did that. I still think that they could continue on, because that was something that has always pissed me off. And that's what we're doing, actually, the series that we're doing, me and my buddy, because Batman is one of the most perfect superheroes to do a TV show on.
Oh, for
Alright?
sure.
He is not that high of a budget like Superman flying around. He has an arsenal of villains. He has so many amazing storylines.
Yep.
But there's never been a live action show for it. And that's always bothered me. And that's when
Yeah.
when Gavin brought up my idea, like the idea of like the Batman series, I looked at him and I was like, because he originally wanted to just do a fan film. And I was like, if we're doing this, it's going to be a series. I will not join this project if it's not a series. I hate to be, tight about it, but it has to be a series. Because
Yeah.
there's so much we can explore, so many interesting points that we can dive
Yeah, man.
into.
And yeah, he is a low budget. Like I wish that we could get like a Batman show like Daredevil or something because
Exactly.
he's got more gadgets. You might have to invest some money into a Batmobile and stuff like that. But for the most part, he's relatively grounded.
I would just take a nice looking black sports car as his Batmobile for the freaking show.
Like the new one. Yeah. Like there are ways you can go around it, to fit in. And like I mean, they spend millions and millions of dollars on shows now. Like the same amount you'd spend on movies and stuff.
Yeah.
So like easily they could make it a good show, and I agree. Like I really want a Batman live action show.
Exactly, and that's what me and my Gavin, are gonna hopefully attempt and succeed, and hope
Do it,
the
man.
world doesn't
Do
hate
it.
me on it.
Having a collaborator is pretty much essential. Like Gavin, if Gavin and I didn't have each other during this whole process, like because you kind of have to have that the collaboration. You can't do it all on your own. Both of you can't do it all on your own.
Right.
So yeah, man, that's exciting.
Yeah. Last question. I'll let you go after this one. It was like it was on my mind pretty much the entire journey that you guys have had. I'm glad I've actually been able to be a part of it.
Yeah, man.
Did you expect this film, this short film, Spider-Man Lotus, to be what it is? To be
No.
how, because you guys literally on Gavin's Instagram itself, GK Central, you guys have, what is it, like 50,000 followers on that?
Something like that.
You guys hit a $25,000 donation mark for the film.
Yeah.
Like how?
No,
How was that?
It's when on the day before we announced it, I believe him and I were stressing out, and we were like, dude, like, you think we'll even get any money? Like, is anyone even gonna donate? Are we gonna be? And that's one of the reasons the reason we got the suit before the funding. So Gavin and I invested our own money into getting this costume made, because on the high chance that nobody donated, we would still have the suit, and then we already had equipment.
Right.
For the most part, we already had a camera available. So our minds was like, okay, if nobody donates, hypothetically, we can still make this movie because we have the suit and we have the equipment. It'll be a lot shorter, and the production value will be heavily decreased. But that was our mindset. That's why every time he says like all this money, it really is because of the budget increasing. We've been able to do more than we thought we would be able to.
Right.
and we have like a lot of new things that we're adding that that we've wanted to, and not like for the sake of adding things, but we've been careful to make sure everything we add has purpose. But yeah, dude, when we hit that mark, when we hit like 5,000 or 10,000, Gavin and I were like, what is going on? Like, what? This is crazy. Like all they've seen is the suit, and they have so much faith in us, and then we hit. I was like, dude, do you think we're gonna hit 20? Like, there's no way we're gonna hit like our mark of 20. And we were very doubtful of ourselves the entire time. And then when we hit over 20, I mean, it just like Gavin and I would text each other, and we'd be like, you like think about this for a couple seconds. Like we hit this mark. That's insane. Like we're hitting the marks that people who are much more experienced or much more famous or have much more many more connections than us, and we're hitting the marks that they've hit. So it blew our minds, and I think it like sort of set a mini precedent for people who might be too scared to step out there and allow themselves to potentially get no funding. But that's because we were scared. We were very scared. We didn't know if people were gonna even want to see this movie. But things turned out for the better. So yeah, very very surreal, very like humbling. We're like, wow, I mean, this is a lot of money people are giving us to make this movie.
Right.
So yeah, man, it was crazy to see. Like it still boggles my mind just talking about it right now.
Yeah, no, that was like, because like I said, that was definitely something that was pinnacle to, this film and this thing that you guys are doing, because I can safely say, I think I've befriended you now and like, everything like
Yeah,
that.
man.
I can safely say as a fan, this is going to be something that we are just extremely excited about. It's something that like, because even though we don't know much about the story, we know the, kind of like not even the synopsis, but we know the basic stuff.
Yeah.
It's definitely something that, any comic book fan at least is going, yeah, like I want to see this. Let's do this.
Thanks, man. Thanks. I really like the story. I think a lot of people are gonna like it, and the script is really good right now. I would say, it's gonna be a very different than what everyone else usually makes or what we usually see in the movies, but I'm excited that we haven't really told too much about the story. The script is around 83 pages, I think, 83, 84.
Nice.
So it'll be a lot longer than we had originally intended, but we have a lot of really good scenes, and I think that people are gonna be satisfied. I think so.
Yeah, I'm really glad to hear that. Do you guys have a release date in mind or anything like that you can
Gavin
share?
Yes, Gavin says we don't have a date, but we're eyeing for January 2022. That's what we're thinking.
January 2022. Well,
So
everybody, you heard it here from Peter himself. Um, I'm super excited for it. Spider-Man Lotus, hopefully coming January 2022.
hopefully.
Warden, thank you so much once again for being on the show. I appreciate
Thank you for having me, Nick. Thank you for having me, Bree. It was nice talking to you guys.
Yeah.
It was nice to meet you.
And nice to meet you too. And you guys have a good rest of the podcast.
Awesome, man. Thanks for coming.
All right. Yeah, I'll talk to you later, man. See ya.
See ya. Well, everybody, that was Warden Wayne on Nerd Talk. Really genuine guy. What a nice dude. Like I said, I've been in contact with him for little under a month now, and he's just seemed like a genuine dude. So, we're going to take a short little mini break here, and we'll be back. And, well, for you guys, it'll be just like that pretty much. But we will be back, and stay tuned. And I am back. Welcome back. To touch up on a little bit more news to wrap up today's episode, I wanted to foremention a couple things that came out recently this last couple weeks. The first thing being the Eternals trailer, which just dropped today. The Eternals, which if you don't know, is a new Marvel movie coming out by Marvel Studios. It is centering pretty much around Marvel's Eternals, which is a bunch of characters that have been around since pretty much the peak of Marvel, and I don't know what's going on in terms of the MCU version, the MCU adaptation of the characters. I'm excited to see what's going on. The trailer was roughly about 2 minutes long, and it showed a really cool amount of the characters. I don't want to spoil too much if you haven't seen the trailer, so go check it out. But I'm really excited to see what they have, planned for the characters, especially because the director is now an Oscar winner. So of course Marvel's going to be really publishing that. But I'm really excited to see what they do with that, and I'm excited to see, you know, how these characters are brought to life on screen. Please, guys, let me know your guys' thoughts in the comments down below. What are your guys' thoughts on Marvel's Eternals? But that's pretty much all we have today, guys. I hope you guys did enjoy it. Warren's interview was kind of the center point of today's episode, and I was really, really excited to, pretty much do that. We will be back to a normal weekly schedule very, very soon. Let me know what you guys' thoughts on the Eternals trailer was down below. And I promise next week we'll cover more news stuff, but I'm just glad that we were able to sit down with Warden and talk about Spider-Man Lois. So, if you did enjoy it, make sure to leave a like, subscribe down below if you haven't already, and follow the socials. I appreciate it. With all that being said, love you all, stay safe, stay positive, and I'll see you guys in the next episode.